Welcome to Extracurricular. I am your co-host, Eddie Geller.
And I am your other co-host, Stephanie Vanos. I am also a school board member for Orange County Public Schools, but I am here today, as I always am, unofficially.
Is it each time you're just experimenting with where you can pause in that statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes you got to invent ways to entertain yourself. And I'm very good at it.
Okay. Do you feel like this podcast is boring you, and so you're just trying to find ways to keep yourself entertained?
Not boring at all.
Okay, good. Steph, happy birthday. Happy early birthday. We are recording this the day before your birthday. This will come out on your birthday, September 29th. How are you feeling?
Old.
Okay.
But grateful.
Wait, what are you grateful for?
That I'm here another year.
It is wonderful.
It's wonderful. I'm not trying to bring us down, but I've lost a lot of people I care about in their young days, young lives. And so I truly am grateful for another year.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. You got so real there. And thank you for being honest and real.
Right, let's get past it now.
Okay, yeah, let's get past it. Before you get bored and you're having to come up with interesting ways to pause your heartfelt sentiments. How has your birthday weekend been so far?
Oh, it's been a really good one. Okay, let's start off with Friday evening. Friday was kind of a crazy day, so we won't get into that. Although we did record the pod.
Yes.
And that was great. We'll talk about that in a second.
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
We went to go see, I never remember the name of the movie, but the one with the battle with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, if you had to take one guess what the movie is called, what would you guess?
One battle after another.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay,
there you go.
Yeah. I always second guess.
Yeah. We saw one battle after another. Loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I think you loved it more than I did.
My favorite movie of the year by far.
I love it.
And this is a year where I've seen a lot of movies. So that says a lot.
And you have. I mean, I think that's a big part of our relationship is me dragging you to the movies.
And thank you for that.
Anytime. No, this was really good. And I think a very prescient movie. It's this movie directed by Paul Thomas Anderson with Leonardo DiCaprio. Just like a story about revolutionaries, what happens to them, like the fallout from their revolutionary ways and how all the ways that plays out. But even though this movie was like apparently has been worked on for 20 years and is based off a book, has a lot of themes that are very present day and just a lot of fun, extremely like well made. Anyone who's listening to this who's like knows who Paul Thomas Anderson is, they're like, yeah, duh, it's extremely well made. He's one of the best directors out there. But anyways, we had a lot of fun.
We did. And I will just say, would you say Paul Thomas Anderson? Is that his name? Yeah. I didn't know. We were listening to a podcast after and they kept referring to him as PTA. Mm-hmm. And I was just so thrown because I have only one definition of PTA in my brain and it's not a movie director. Is that it? Producer? Whatever. Yeah.
Director, yeah.
But what I loved about, great description, but it was also a very funny movie.
Yeah, no, it was very funny. And I love jokes. So I was very on board.
You were on the side of jokes.
I was always on the side of jokes. Okay, I want to circle back to. We'll circle back to your birthday weekend. I do want to talk about this week's episode, which is really an interesting episode. We went to the headquarters of Second Harvest, Central Florida. Steph, how did we end up doing this week's show? Like, how did it come about? What is it? Tell us a little bit.
Well, so I know Stephanie Palacios, who is I believe she's the government affairs person at Second Harvest. I've known her for a couple of years. We have a mutual friend in Tallahassee. Hi to Rick if you're out there, and Toby. She's wonderful. And yeah, we caught up about a couple of weeks ago, and she said they were starting this new they had this new event this year called Hunger Never Sleeps, and it was a 24-hour marathon event. And she said marathon, I was like, I'm in, whatever it means, I'm in. And it was just to kind of remind people that hunger really truly never sleeps. There are so many people in our community who are suffering from food insecurity. I think she mentioned 1 in 6 children.
Yeah.
And 1 in 7, people overall, which means that, if you're thinking about kids in your child's class, that's, several kids in your child's class are probably struggling with food insecurity. And so this was just a reminder. And so they had this 24-hour event where they had, I think, over 300 volunteers that were packing boxes and just, kind of bringing awareness to the issue.
Yeah, it was really great. And this is the first time someone invited us to do a podcast, and we were glad to do it. I think this is such an important issue to bring to light. And usually I would say on this podcast we talk about what's happening either on the local level, policy-wise, or national or state. But this is, I think, it is a little bit different because we are talking to this great nonprofit that helps people get access to nutritious food. But there are policy, mostly failures and some successes that undergird hunger and how we fight it. And I think we were just delighted to be invited in and to talk about what that looks like. Why are we in the place that we're in, that we are needing to feed so many people? And we need this network of nonprofits to help fulfill this. And what can we do as citizens to help it? And what specifically Second Harvest Central Florida, there's Second Harvest all over the country, but what they're doing. So it was a really, I think, informative interview. I'm excited for people to listen to it. Got a couple of good bits in there, though I think we were both trying to be thoughtful about not making light of the situation, but we're always trying to have fun, don't you think?
I mean, we try. And I will say, while we were there, Senator Carlos Guillermo Smith and his team were out volunteering on the floor. So that was pretty cool to see them too. And there were several other volunteers as well. And so it looked like a lot of fun and a great way to make a big impact.
I love it. Okay. So, all right, let's go back. Okay. So we saw the movie. We saw one battle after another. We did a podcast, not in that order. And then we went out to dinner. I'm just going to say this. We're not going to name the restaurant. We went to the dinner was very, as the kids say, mid, which is really, really unfortunate because it's like your birthday dinner. You want to have the best food possible. And it just there were just a number of dishes that were disappointing.
I love how this will be the most mysterious conversation because we won't reveal what the restaurant was, but it's a fun restaurant. And I'm so glad we went. It was great to be there with you.
Oh, thank you.
The food is just secondary.
Yeah.
And it's still a great place. But afterwards, we walked to Kelly's.
We walked to this ice cream shop, Kelly's, for folks who don't know, this great ice cream shop that has a number of locations, some great vegan flavors too, a number of locations around Orlando. So we walked like a mile and a half afterwards, which I feel like we were excising our middling dinner demons
to make room for some ice cream that was delicious.
Yeah,
as always.
It was very good. So that was wonderful. Any other wisdom you have from another year on the calendar?
Nope, not one thing. I'm gonna have to say. No, I will say, actually, I did learn something this week.
Oh, tell me.
And the thing I learned is, don't come at me about this, but honestly, I feel like car maintenance appointments are a scam.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put it out there right now.
Okay. All right. This is unrelated to your birth. This is just life learnings.
Yeah. Well, you asked me what I learned this year. And all I'm saying is I'm driving along my car and it's fine. I take it in for maintenance and I get it back. Well, first of all, they said it would take 2 hours. It took like 4.5.
All right. And this is your just so, well, I want folks to know, to be able to picture,
I don't know if we need to put that out there. I like how you're willing to throw under the bus, but not the restaurant.
Well, I don't think was going to sponsor the podcast, so I'm not worried.
Anyway, I don't know. So I took it in and now I have it back and now it's making weird noises. And then one day it didn't start.
Yeah.
So,
well, what was I loved your conspiracy theory that you were articulating.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's just common sense, which is you bring it in, they leave a few bolts loose. And then things start jingling around. And then lo and behold, you bring it back and they've got to fix something and you've got to pay for it. So car maintenance is a scam. That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean, I don't think that will come as a surprise to most people, but I'm just imagining a surgeon that's leaving some tools inside your body. And then so you have to come back and be like, I got some stuff jangling around where my appendix used to be.
Is there a problem?
Is there a problem? Don't sue us. That's all I'm saying.
This was all just in our opinion, by the way.
This is our opinion. I could also just bleep out the name of the car.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Maybe I'll do that just to make sure we're safe. So doesn't sue us. But also, yeah, maybe we can still get them to sponsor the podcast.
What else happened this week?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel came back on air, and I feel like it was just a couple days after we did our podcast. So, I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do feel like it's a strong possibility that ABC, Nexstar, and Sinclair heard our podcast, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, extracurriculars calling them out. We got to put Jimmy Kimmel back on air." Do you think that's what happened?
I'm just saying it's not our podcast.
I don't disagree. So, we're just super influential.
Is there anything else we need back on the air?
What? Yeah, that's a good question. What is
I'd like some more Veep episodes. Could we start that season again?
Yeah, can we just start Veep again or more Succession? Okay, I think that's it from us for our yapping. We should go to Briana and Erika, who were wonderful and taught us a lot about hunger and Second Harvest. So why don't we go to that interview?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Briana and Erika, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Briana, can we start with you? Can you just tell us your role here at Second Harvest Central Florida?
Absolutely. I am the School Partnerships Program Manager here at the Food Bank, which means I oversee partnerships with around 85 schools across our 7-county service area, implementing student-led, choice-based pantries, and also fresh produce distributions at around half of those sites.
That sounds like a lot of work.
A little bit. I don't want to put you on the spot, but out of all the counties you serve, which county would you say is the best?
I don't know about best. I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but we are heavily concentrated here in Orange County.
All right, I like to hear it. It's good stuff.
All right, Erika, how about yourself?
I am the Storytelling and Communications Manager at Second Harvest Food Bank, which means I get to share all of the awesome work that we are doing to help individuals facing hunger and the really awesome people that help make that possible.
That's wonderful. Well, let's kick it off with this. This is kind of our first episode in which we've been invited to participate with a nonprofit, which is so exciting for us. Maybe I'll just kick it to you, Erika. What brings us here today? Why are we here today at Second Harvest here in Central Florida?
So today at Second Harvest Food Bank, we are hosting our inaugural volunteer marathon. It's 24 hours. The first time we've been open for 24 hours continuously in our 43-year history. And this event is called Hunger Never Sleeps because hunger is something that impacts our neighbors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so to raise awareness during September, which is Hunger Action Month all over the country, here in Central Florida, we are hosting this event to draw attention to the fact that hunger persists day, night, morning, afternoon, evening.
Well, thank you for inviting us. Thank you for doing this work and hosting this event. What a great opportunity to talk about such an important issue. Though this does make me think, when I was in college, we used to do 24-hour, or maybe it was 12-hour, improv marathons because I was on the improv team. So by hour 12, it was some pretty bad improv. So it's probably good that you're not doing anything like that, and in fact doing something much more important. But I think we did it for charity in our defense.
So what hour are we on right now?
So we started at 8 o'clock this morning. So as of right now, we're at about hour 8 into our 24 hours. We'll be here until 8 o'clock Saturday morning.
Okay. Well, I have to ask because I'm old and I need sleep. Was it hard to fill the slots in the middle of the night?
Surprisingly, no. So we have a very generous, caring community here in Central Florida. And I think anytime you ask and say, this is what we need, whether it's disaster relief and we need water and non-perishable food, or if it's Giving Tuesday and we want to support families at the holidays, Central Florida always steps up. And that's what's really awesome about our community is they care. They just want to know what you need, and then they respond. And so we work with about 10,000 volunteers over the course of a year. And so we put out to them and said, we have this crazy idea. We're going to do this thing for the first time. We'd love for y'all to be part of it. And they responded in a really big way. So we're going to have about 300 people, maybe a little more, here in the building over 24 hours, all ages. We have some students from Corner Lake Middle School coming later today.
Awesome.
And then students from Rollins, students from Seminole State, and then corporate groups have been here throughout the day. And then tomorrow, in the early hours of the morning, we have this group at Second Harvest called the Young Professionals Committee. These are young adults who are starting their career, and they work together towards improving our community. And one of the ways they're going to do that is closing us out from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Wow. One of the things I really admire about the work you do here, and I want to talk about hunger too, and it's an important issue in our region, but I love that you bring these different groups together, because I think apart from your mission, that's another really important just a really important outcome that you were able to achieve just by bringing all these different groups together to support this one goal.
It's fascinating to see all of the different ways that people like to interact with this mission, whether it's virtually through a virtual food drive or here hands-on in the warehouse. But just like hunger doesn't discriminate in the sense that it can impact anyone from 0 to 102. When we have volunteers as young as 5 that come help us out throughout the year, and one of our volunteer captains is in his 80s. So we're keeping him young and active here in the warehouse.
For sure.
But it's really amazing to see people come from all over our service area to volunteer at different locations that we have, and that they bring their kids and grandkids along for the ride.
I love that.
It's so heartening to hear. But on the other side of this coin, I want to talk about why is this issue more important now than ever? I think it's easy for a lot of folks, and myself included, to kind of not think about it, or until it hits you, not see it coming. So I'd love to hear kind of where are we at in this world, or in this country and in this state? I mean, also where are we at in this world, but maybe the Central Florida Food Bank is not as locked in on global affairs. But that being said, yeah, where are we at, and why is this so important that y'all are doing this kind of work?
Well, I think part of it has to do with the climate that we're living in. Any cuts that are going to take place to SNAP benefits or Medicaid, all of those are going to have implications for our neighbors. And that in turn is going to put a strain on the charitable food system when we're already eyeballs deep in trying to keep up with the demand that we're seeing. So when you pile that on with low-wage jobs or the affordable housing crisis or homelessness, the rise in homelessness that we're seeing not only in our adult neighbors, but in neighbors who have families, and in our school systems, our students experiencing homelessness. All of those things are contributing to hunger and food insecurity. And it's easy, like you said, to just kind of look away and be like, la la la, it's not happening. Yeah. But the more that we talk about it and the more that we bring awareness to it, the more that we're going to be able to work together as a community to try and solve it. It is a solvable problem. It's just going to take everybody's hands chipping in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, do you have any data or statistic on, how many of our children, I mean, obviously I'm focused on our kids in school, but how many of our children suffer from food insecurity or deal with that on a regular basis?
Yeah. In Central Florida, it's 1 in 6 children at risk of being hungry.
Wow.
For adults or Central Floridians in general, that number is 1 in 7, which has gotten higher in recent years. It used to be 1 in 8. So we're seeing that need continue to grow. And that 1 in 6 children is, what is the number, Erika? 150 something thousand. It's a number that's not acceptable.
Yeah. And so when you say it's a solvable problem, I mean, how do you know that? How do you know it's a problem we can solve? It just because you see what our community is able to do, or how do you,
Yeah. Well, we always say you can't food pantry your way out of food insecurity. The work that we do is impactful and important, and we need to continue it. But it is not meant to end food insecurity, right? We're just treating the symptom. So when we look at cross-sector collaborations and bringing in that entire community, we're talking about bringing in the government, right? SNAP is 9 times more effective than what we can do at the food bank level. And we're looking at how we can partner with other nonprofits and organizations who maybe deal with homelessness or getting vouchers for housing or utility bills or all of those other things that might put a family in a situation of food insecurity. So if you start taking away all those little boxes, then suddenly you have a community that's no longer food insecure. But it's a big task.
You, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to add to that. We live in a very food-rich community, a very food-rich country for that matter. It just takes communication and coordination and sheer desire to make it happen, that we can rescue crops from farmers' fields, that we can get them logistically to the places where they're needed most. And sometimes that's generosity from those farmers, and sometimes it looks like we need funding to make that happen because the farmer needs to be paid for their work too. They grow their crops because they care about them and they care about the health of our communities. But at the end of the day, they want to make ends meet too.
Of course.
Yeah.
I want to go back for a second. You said SNAP was 9 times more effective than what you can do here. I'm sure most of our listeners know what SNAP is, but can you explain SNAP for just a second?
Yeah, Erika, please step in too. You've been here a little bit longer than me. But SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It is a temporary assistance program to help individuals and families who are experiencing food insecurity. You might know it as food stamps. That's what a lot of people know it as. But when we're talking about SNAP, we are putting money in someone's wallet so that they then have the dignity to go to the grocery store and buy the food that they want, the food that their family will eat. So you're retaining dignity, you're stimulating the economy, and you're making sure that those family members and seniors, kids, working family members are going to bed with food in their bellies.
I love the point you make about, the food that the family, that family needs and folks in that family will eat. I think there's a lot of, there's so much stigma about, support in general when it comes to governmental programs. But, I think that it's such and people will, I think there's a lot of talk about, people will spend it on junk food or spend it on this or that. And just getting people to eat and putting food in the mouths of children and families is just so important. So I just want to be on this podcast fighting back against the stigma. And if someone wants to go, if someone is able to buy fresh fruits and vegetables and oatmeal, I love oatmeal, sponsor us.
Apparently we all do.
Sponsor us, Big Oatmeal, sponsor the podcast. But if your family's going to eat chips or whatever, I just want people fed, and I'm sure you all feel the same, but I just like to go on rants every now and again, so I just want to thank you. I want to take that moment and just sort of articulate that.
Yeah, and I think also to point out that, and we're here to talk about Second Harvest, but to point out that SNAP is 9 times more effective than what you do. When we use words like return on investment and efficiency, really seems like that is an important program to continue to invest in and make sure our families and people have access to that.
We, before we started recording, Briana, we were talking about, even though this podcast is often very political, we're not going to be political today, but I actually would, if you can articulate the effects of this, it's hard for me to say, big, beautiful bill that was passed. What are the sort of nuts and bolts effects for folks generally and the work you do here?
So Briana said this, so I'm just going to repeat what
Please.
she said to give it another voice. Anytime that there's a reduction in spending at the national level, the federal level, or the state level, and as it comes to purchasing food, supporting programs like SNAP, like healthcare benefits, that's going to immediately impact somebody's wallet. Yeah. And it may not be immediate. You may not see it immediately. But the first time you need to go see a doctor and that's not covered, or you don't have access to that doctor, you're going to hold out until you can't any longer, and then you end up in the emergency room. And we all know that's way more expensive. So by cutting access to regular, everyday well care, we're now going to create an epidemic, a need of health care at the critical, urgent, emergent level. And we all know that's not the smartest way to invest our dollars. But the same's going to happen when it comes to groceries. If you have been receiving SNAP benefits, some of the impacts are parents are going to have to work when their kids reach a certain age. Like until this point, they've been able to say, I'm caretaking for kids, and so my work requirement is different. Or if you're an older adult, you're going to have to work longer years later into your life if you're in order to qualify for this program or continue to receive support through it. And those haven't taken effect yet. They will soon. And again, I don't think the minute that flip happens that we're going to see the immediate impact of it. It's going to take time to build. But people are resilient.
Yeah.
They're resourceful, they're creative, and they're going to try to plug a hole in their financial budget one way or another. And the charitable food system is one of the ways that often happens because you got to pay that rent or that mortgage note, housing first, and then you've got utilities, you've got transportation to get to work. If you have an emergency expense like a car repair or a medical bill, the thing that's going to give is food, because that's not every week it's $45. It's every week it's whatever I've got left at the grocery store.
Yeah, you're filling such an important role in providing that and organizing. So thank you so much. I do want to touch back to one of the points you brought up, and I know you didn't use the word wellness, but it was health, something.
That general care that you get. That
well care, yes.
That annual visit to your doctor. If you no longer have insurance to pay for that, or whatever federal program is allowing you to do that, you're not going to get your blood pressure checked as often as you should. You're not going to have that check-in, to make sure everything is as it should be.
Yeah.
And then when something goes wrong, you're going to hesitate to make an appointment because that's no longer just a co-payment. If you're without insurance, that's a cash payment.
Right.
And that can be steep to cover.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, one of the other points is, I know when I have volunteered here, I've gotten the tours and all of that as part of it, the focus that you do have here on bringing in fresh produce and having, and again, like it's a no judgment zone, but it's sort of like if you can provide this fresh produce and help prevent farm waste, it's kind of like a win-win for everyone. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your efforts to bring in kind of that fresh produce and food.
As much as we are a human service organization and driven to fight hunger for people, we are a food waste prevention organization. We rescue millions of pounds of food that would have otherwise been designated to the landfill, whether that's from a farm or from the grocery store. Because if something can't sell at the grocery store, where else is it going to go?
Yeah.
And so one of the largest sources of food that we receive and distribute is through our retail partners. We call it Retail Rescue. We have a fleet of trucks every day that goes out to anywhere that you probably purchase food. And we rescue frozen meat. They freeze it before the sell-by date, and they are able to donate it to us. Same with bread and deli items. And then some of those non-perishable items, if the cans are dented or the pallet is damaged and they can't put it on the floor to sell, they're able to donate that to us. And the food inside is still perfectly safe. It may just not be cosmetically pretty.
I love
Steph,
that.
you said you'll only eat pretty food. That's always been your take,
like
right?
I said, oatmeal is a beautiful food. It's like a big bowl of mush. No, but that's an important point. And so I think, we talk about food insecurity and just your mission to really ameliorate that. But there's all of these other parts that I don't know that, I almost spilled my water. All those other parts that I feel like people don't read. It's like bringing in the community. It's helping people understand this need. It's rescuing food. And so when you say millions of pounds overall, or like a year, or
Yeah, annually. Millions of pounds annually.
That's wild. That's amazing.
That's not sitting in the landfill in Orange County or Seminole County or Marion County or anywhere across Central Florida, because it came here and our volunteers are downstairs sorting it. checking to make sure the packaging is intact, making sure that it still has the nutrition label so that people know what's inside, and then boxing it up for distribution.
So do you have volunteers here every day?
We have volunteers here in our main Orlando facility 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. So we are here to accommodate folks that work during the week and want to come on the weekend. We also have some Wednesday evening shifts that happen outside of the normal business hours. Just up the street, 2 miles from here, we have a Mercy Kitchen, a production kitchen. They operate Monday through Friday, and volunteers there help pack and prepare meals that we bring to some of our childhood nutrition program sites. We do an after-school meal program with Orange County Parks and Rec and some other after-school programs during the school year. And then in the summer, that kitchen goes into hyperdrive, and they do a summer food service program where they're serving free breakfast and lunch at 60 different places outside of the school system, where kids gather safely in the summer and get access to the nutritious food that they would be missing from the school cafeteria.
Wow, that's such a huge gap. And can people go to your website to find slots to volunteer?
Yeah, we love volunteers. That's what we have going on downstairs right now. And all of those opportunities that I just talked about are on our website at feedhopenow.org. Coming up this holiday season, there'll also be some food drive events that people can sign up to help at. And then we also have a third facility that operates 2 or 3 times a week with volunteers over in the Brevard area. So in Melbourne, we have a mini food bank. Okay. And so we take about 15 volunteers at a time over there to do the same sorts of things that we do here in Orlando.
Okay, so check out those websites. Sign up.
And we'll put them in the show description. Briana, can you talk, I know we've touched on it, can you talk a bit about maybe more some of the work you do in schools, like what that looks like?
Yeah.
Love to hear more.
Absolutely. I eat, sleep, and breathe school partnerships in school. So we call them school markets. When I say school market, know that I'm referring to an in-school pantry. We say market because the heart of this program is truly stigma reduction. There was a survey, a community needs assessment to be specific, in 2016, 2017 that found that there was a gap in resources for middle school and high school students. When they did a little digging into that, it was because students were embarrassed in that age range to access a food resource. So this program truly was born to address just that. How can we get students psyched about getting the food that they need, right?
I love that.
And we do that by giving them ownership. So we create student-led, choice-based markets within schools where students take charge. They are coming up with a name for the market. It's often something to do with their mascot and the word market. It's great. They come up with a logo. Then they figure out how they're going to advertise it within the school. We've seen flyers. Some of them are in their newscasting class, and they'll do a newscast for the morning announcements, or they maybe have a social media page. They are budgeting. They get grant funding from us, so they're in charge of budgeting that money throughout the school year to make sure they're ordering all the stuff. Then they're learning inventory management and food safety and how to rotate first in, first out. And maybe most importantly, how to distribute that food in a way that is dignifying for their peers. How can we bring them in, make them feel good, and make sure they want to come back? The other piece of being stigma-free is making the market open to the entire student body. So anybody can come in. You're not going to have to give your name, any identifying information, any proof of eligibility or need. You can literally come and get a granola bar because you have practice after school, or you can shop for groceries for your whole family, and nobody cares. They care that you are there and you are getting what you want and or need. And that's just so special to see. So my team, we're on the back end of it. We are not in the school. We are here. We're coordinating all of that behind the scenes, making sure those orders that are coming in make sense, that the markets are food safe and they're following compliance, and that the food is going out on the trucks as it's supposed to be. It's a lot of logistics on our end. And then at about half of the schools that we serve, so I said we're at 85, at 40 of those locations, we do what we call a fresh market. So we are ordering brand new fresh produce from a third-party vendor. It gets delivered to the school and distributed the exact same day, once a month. So they are packing up that produce as quick as they can, or they're setting it up farmers market style for students to shop at dismissal. and they're going home with recipes and how-to and produce washing guides so they know what to do with that produce when they get home. And I think everyone is the most excited about that program model. And it just so happens that that's also the most logistically challenging and expensive. But it's really been incredible to see every single time that we have kiwi. Erika's shaking her head. She knows there's always a student who was like, what is that fuzzy brown thing? Because a lot of people have only ever seen kiwi sliced. So seeing it kind of in its whole form, kids are like, well, what the heck is that? So that is another piece, is we're introducing students and families to produce items they may have never tried before. And I don't know if guilty is not the right word, but I am part of that. I didn't ever have dragon fruit until I started with this program. I'm not very impressed by it.
I guess dragon fruit will not be sponsoring the podcast.
I mean,
But
same
it's
with
so
starfruit, by the way. Like
Honestly.
starfruit looks so cool, and then you eat it and you're like, that's just not that great.
It's just bland.
Yeah.
But the kids are so excited.
Yeah,
And it's an amazing thing to get to witness and make happen for them. And I just can't say thank you enough to all of our sponsors and donors who make this work possible. Our program is entirely grant funded. So truly that's another example of the community stepping up. And we truly have a generous community.
So, and again, just for explanation, when you say grant funded, what do you mean by that?
So within the food bank, we have a program called Power Purchase. So that's where we connect with retail vendors and we order food by the truckload. So I'm talking truckloads of canned tuna or corn or green beans. And by leveraging the bulk that we're able to order in with those 43 plus year relationships, we're able to get really good pricing. So that then goes into our system. We have an online ordering system. Think a much older version of Instacart, where you can go in and kind of pick out what you want. Our schools are able to go in and order from that inventory list. It's 13, 14 pages, depending on the day. And each of those things have a price associated with them. So think about pricing that you would see at Costco, and then think a whole lot cheaper than that, but for that same bulk quantity. So while they are getting a total invoice number, an amount, a cost for that invoice, the school is not responsible for paying that. That comes from program funding, which is funded through grants. Same thing for the produce. The schools are not paying any money, with the exception of our post-secondary institutions who do have their own foundations and are able to support their school markets.
Okay. Oh, that's so great to hear that our high schools are getting that food. And I have to say, I've been in some of the markets and they're amazing.
Oh.
And it really is. It's the students they're making decisions about what food needs to be replaced and what they need to order and making sure it's fully stocked. And I heard about the fresh fruit coming, the fresh days coming in. And so I think, again, food is the number one, but there's so many other pieces where our community is benefiting from this program that it's really impressive.
One thing I was thinking about is that it's not, this is the decades of the work and understanding and learning y'all have, but it's not just here's food, take it, but really finding a way to again, destigmatize and empower kids to interact with it and take it. And it reminds me, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna mini rant for a moment, but our attacks on social emotional learning, just how important it is that we understand how people work and how they interact both with each other and systems and organizations, and how much that matters in this instance, that we understand how people come to this stuff emotionally, and we do whatever we can to remove shame and empower people. And I just think that's so important. And people, anyway, I had to do one more rant. The other thing I thought of was I went to Countryside High School, home of the Cougars. So maybe it would be the Cougar Market, but I don't know if that name.
I don't know if that's allowed.
I don't know if that name would have passed muster. I don't know. I'm just I'm so impressed and appreciative of the work you all do. And I think our podcast is so centered around what is the policy and how is the policy fixing or hurting. Unfortunately, we're here in Florida, it's mostly hurting. But, hunger is one of these things, whereas we want universal healthcare. We want fixes to climate change, and there's only so much we can do. But here we have hunger, which there should, be much more funding, much more help on the federal and state and local level. But here is a place where folks can actually plug in and, make a significant contribution to this problem that we have. And I think that's just a wonderful thing, because I am very much can't we just fix the policy? And yes, we should fix the policy, but it is great that you exist. You don't need me to validate you, but it is wonderful that you exist and do the work that you do, because it is a place where people can be helpful, and organizations and retailers, et cetera.
Yeah. Can I give just to say, you're right, we can do so much when we work together. Coming out of the most recent session in Tallahassee, we did, as a group, as a Feeding Florida network of food banks, receive funding under the leadership from Commissioner Simpson to work more closely together with Florida Ag. And there's funding in the current state budget to expand this partnership between food banks and Florida growers and producers. And so we've already started to experience that just in the few short weeks that this current budget has been active. And so we're receiving milk from some Florida dairies, which is really exciting. Mm-hmm. That's one of the most expensive things for families at the grocery store right now. And if you have, you have teenagers, and I have teenagers, and they go through it you would think it was water, but it's not quite as expensive or quite as inexpensive as the water that comes out of the tap. But I think that's about how quickly we go through it at my house. Mm-hmm. So that's been really exciting to see, and there'll be more opportunities throughout the year to access different proteins and produce through that funding. So that's so there are things that are working. Yeah. And so I just want to give credit.
Yeah. Oh no,
credit is due.
Totally. We occasionally talk about things that are working. So.
No, I think that's great, and I think just and when you have something like hunger, that is right. Everybody wants to help solve that problem. I think it's a great kind of way to bring people in and bring more people in and bring businesses in. It's helping them. It's helping you. It's helping communities. So I think that's great. I do have one question. I just wonder if this happens here. So I grew up in Illinois, and not too many years ago, the high school that I actually went to wanted to open a market like this. And there was a lot of pushback actually from the community because I don't know if it's they didn't want to recognize that there was a significant portion of people who went to that school who struggled with food insecurity. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I just wonder if you ever run into that here.
Unfortunately, yes. I think the first step, anytime you're looking at kind of cross-sector collaboration, is agreeing on a common purpose. Mm-hmm. And so you have to recognize that problem. Like we said, it's easier to be fingers and ears, la, la, la. But to look at it being an actual problem that's impacting more than just a handful of students is sometimes a hard pill to swallow. Especially when we're looking at zip codes or city names. A lot of times people don't want to admit that hunger exists there. So we have seen that, but I think it takes real conversations and persistence to come to an agreement. And we've seen some success in that as well.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good to hear. And I think sometimes it probably is just that engagement that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things I'm probably known for most about being a school board member is I ask a ton of questions. And so I'll just ask you, I think your program is amazing and wonderful, and I love the things we've talked about today, but how do you know that the program works?
Well, thank you. So looking at our current site list for this school year and the enrollments of the schools that we serve, again, this is kindergarten all the way through college, at about 85 sites. We have the potential to reach over 280,000 students. Now, to put that into perspective, last school year, we were at 76 locations. We distributed over 1,060,000 pounds of food, which was equivalent to more than 884,000 meals, with enrollments slightly lower because we were at 10 less schools. But more than the quantitative data, we get stories every single month about how families had SNAP dollars that were stretched too thin, and the school market opened just on the right day to get them through the end of the month. Or a student living in their car felt comfortable coming in and getting hygiene products because our school markets have that.
So, Erika, any last thoughts to close us out about the work you do here, about the event, about September?
Yeah, so September ends, obviously, in just a few days.
Wake me up when September ends. That's what I always say. I made that up myself.
But hunger is a problem.
Sorry, Steph is ruining
Florida.
the podcast.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I can start over.
No. We're keeping this.
Don't worry. Well, it'll be profesh.
So September ends in just a few days, but hunger persists 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long, unfortunately. And so we'll be here. Second Harvest will be here for our community, for those kids and families who are facing some really tough challenges, as well as our seniors, our veterans, because everyone deserves to have the food they need to thrive in our community, and that's what we're here for. And so if anyone's listening and they want to figure out how to plug in, how to get involved, our website has a ton of ways to do that. I personally think the best way is to come for a tour of our facility, and you can see kind of behind the scenes of how this food bank magic works, and then you can figure out what role makes sense for you, whether it's to bring a group back from your community, from your school, from your faith community, from your workplace, to volunteer. If you want to start a food drive this fall, we collect all kinds of non-perishable food from the community, and then we'll distribute it out to our local partners. But if the easiest thing for you to do is to give a gift, we can take a dollar and turn it into 4 meals. So if you think about, a $10 donation, that's 40 meals, just with a few clicks at our website at feedhopenow.org.
That's great. Okay, I just want to talk about this because it's cracked me up when we were talking about it before we started recording. So, we talked a lot about schools and figuring out how to interact with students. And you were talking about, was it a focus group that you were working on?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, can you tell that story? Because we were talking about like the intricacies of working with kids.
Yes. When we think about stigma, right, it's all about being in those awkward, like preteen, teenage years. And I have had some firsthand experience with that. A few years ago, we were doing a focus group to get some qualitative data for a grant that we had for nutrition nudge work. And I had the pleasure of sitting down with middle schoolers and leading that focus group. And part of that was asking some similar, not repetitive, but similar questions. And I kid you not, this 12-year-old looked me dead in the eye and was like, "You just asked me that question." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah." It's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. Well, we all need to be humble sometimes. It's important in life that we're kept on the ground level. But thank you so much for having us. Thank you for being on the podcast. And folks should check out the website, come visit. And thank you for the work you do. And this has been a wonderful chat. Steph, anything else?
No, just really appreciate you too. As someone who's toured, as someone who's volunteered, my kids have volunteered here. It's a great place to bring your family or your friends, and you can do great work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you guys. Excited that we're the first road trip. That's kind of a
So
exciting.
I didn't forget any equipment, so that's a plus. All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.